This is your,
Oh, thank you. So,
you want me to sit?
you can sit up here with me. And probably although he may not, maybe just you and I. Yeah, if you're going to take the next one, we'll be up here.
Yeah.
How many dentists did you make? 10?
10.
Did you keep one for yourself?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll share yours.
Yeah, we'll share more.
Yeah, that's perfect, because I have 10 of everything else. And they'll just have to, they'll have to share.
Do we have the ability to do anything else?
I don't think so. I think you can prepare for that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. See if there's a place that you Westfall, Locks Road, Westfall, Kentfield, Kentville, St. James, Kentville, this church, French Village, Union Park, Cold Harbor. There's that Teddy Dunlop's up the valley. The Nile from Church of St. St. Peter's, Calgary, picked up, Herb,
How many altogether? 22? No, that's fine.
places like ministers on for the others never want to come or anything. It's how you prioritize.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm the treasurer. Yeah, he doesn't have the flexibility.
Okay. Any other churches in your area?
dietonian. I'm trying to get somebody interested.
Well, I think you're doing a great job. Don't feel that you're not doing your job well.
No, but I'm interested in this last while. I'm incapacitated, and I think this is somebody.
And there's nothing wrong with letting it go empty for a while.
No, I don't want to do that.
I know.
Well, I can do on the Zooms and things, driving, I can't.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to send you back to
But I'll keep St. John's in Truro in our minds as a place.
yeah, because they've got sales. At one time the other day, I think some of them are retired because they're too old and they're not all the time. Anyway, but aren't you happy?
Somebody sent that. I think that came from PEI. It's not a few of those early registration forms we talked about. It goes down there at the end.
So where do you want them?
Just put them right there at the end. When people come up to the table, we'll just tell them that you want them to see copies and they need to share.
So PEI is a place unto itself because of this, the way they're set up. I see it. I never fully understood PEI because they kind of have a different setup.
Yes.
So, but it's good because,
It does give the agenda. So you have the agenda there somewhere.
yeah, I have my agenda. It's
Okay, and here's the
very,
rest of our document.
so, here.
Just share these. We'll just have that if somebody wants to look at it.
Okay. So this is,
If they choose to step into a rep position, I don't think we have anybody here that's going to. Okay, I need to pee.
you go.
I'll right back. So if anybody comes along to pick stuff up, just remind them that we need a few copies.
Yeah, okay.
I always feel a little bit self-conscious when drinking a cup of coffee.
I don't worry about it.
No, I'm not.
When do you actually retire?
From parachment?
Yes. I know it never really exists,
Yeah, I
but
know,
you know.
yeah. As of July 1st next year, I will be drawing it.
Okay.
What if I phrase it that way?
That's a good one. It's kind of like a slow
Yeah,
moonwalk out of it
yeah.
and then into another ministry,
Yeah,
basically.
probably, yeah.
It certainly is a time of change. Will you stay in the valley? Is that where you
We have a place in Cape Breton, so we'll move to their place in Cape Breton, and then But like, I'm not quite sure we'll move directly on July 1st.
These are the documents. We only have about 8 or 9 copies, so take it. Take it and share with people in your pew, and then because all this is available online, and you can tell. Yeah, don't worry. No, take one of each and share it with your pews if they want to see something.
So, as I say, I'm not quite sure when, I gotta sit down and talk to the bishop about timelines. So she's been very busy lately, so I haven't had a chance to kind of have a good chat about my future.
It's a good place to be. It's
Yeah.
full of new adventures.
Exactly. And I still have another year.
Yeah. So just leave that there for us the registration form is here, but
Yeah, but we can mention it later.
Printed that out this morning, so just the agenda.
oh, okay, so did you get it? Because we ended up making up one.
This is what I got from the other day.
We never
Couldn't find it.
We never got it.
Oh, okay.
So we will,
Yeah.
we'll just make sure that everything
So
is.
it's the same, yeah.
Regrets, approval, agenda, closing minutes, business arising, well, we had a different order, but that's okay. Reports, under business arising, let's see business arising. Oh, yeah, under business arising,
She didn't have anything in there.
we're just talking about the cancellation
Oh, and, yeah, and she,
of 2020.
they did get sent out. There
Yep.
is, we have some copies up here. In the interest of not killing trees, we only have about 10 copies, so we do ask people to share.
But they should have gone out. I personally did not get any.
No,
So we're thinking that there was something wrong with the email,
Yeah.
but each pew is welcome to take the set of documents and share. And we can probably make sure that everything is sent out afterwards
yeah.
if that's of help.
Well, most of it's in diaconia, except for the actual agenda. Everything else would have been in diaconia. Yeah. Steve's chair.
You watch Sesame Street.
Wheels Rock.
No. No.
Mr. Jessup.
From the Johnny.
Can we go?
Go ahead, Ted.
Well, if it's not, we'll have to share one.
Yeah, well, we meet a few
Thank you very much.
and secretary is away.
Well, you came in this car. I drive, but I take this car.
I want to go back to the moment today.
No, she's usually okay for now. At this stage, you know,
Right, okay.
at this stage, she seems to be okay by herself for a short while.
For a short while.
So just when we come home, she'll be asking us several times where we were today.
Yeah.
There's a couple more copies up here if
just added, I think they are now,
Okay, there we
they're
go.
now together.
They're all
I think so. There wasn't that much until we were going to mention that our new class could.
Right, right. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, the only thing you wouldn't have actually is probably the agenda. Yeah, okay, we just ran out of agenda.
I think somebody can take that one.
All the reports, that's the minutes of last year, the board's report, the president's report, financial report, and then the bylaws changes from the which are minimal.
All right, I'll go.
You don't want it?
No, go ahead.
28,
28 is what I think.
So,
Anything else to teach you? I was just wondering if anybody was.
I would say Paul would be the one to know.
All right. Just in case people were wondering what the changes were going to be in the agenda.
we're going to start this. Can we turn it on?
There's somebody outside.
Yes, Ted is on the phone.
Yeah. What?
It's
That's
Ted.
not yet.
Maybe it's just someone on the street.
Yeah.
I don't recognize them.
Is everybody back, do you know? Are we still missing a couple? We can wait a couple more minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24. Where's Gail? I see Gail.
Get up and stay.
Okay, we're going to wait a couple more minutes. I don't think everybody's back yet.
And Gail, I think, went to the washroom.
Yeah. Yeah. That's allowed.
That's a lot.
And Paul's not here. He's probably in the washroom.
You might,
Did you get the address from Reverend Dorothy?
From who?
Reverend Dorothy?
okay. Reverend Dorothy sends her
Oh, she sent her
regrets.
regrets, okay.
We'll put that in the
And
minutes.
Cheryl.
Yep, thank you.
And John DeCoste?
John
Okay.
DeCoste, okay.
Yes, that's right, it is, and
Who's that?
John
John
DeCoste.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, he did, yeah.
They had a funeral, that's probably why Reverend Dorothy's not here either.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I suspect so.
Yeah. So these are a few things that weren't on ours.
Okay.
Yeah,
We need to do them anyway. I didn't put them on. Interesting. I was not downstairs drinking coffee. I'm just gonna wander around, see what people are missing.
Need a bill or something.
We need a bell, yeah. I know Gail was waiting in the washroom.
That's what it is, it's the video. So, the trials and other items,
Yeah.
are they every year? Because we tend.
Yes, yes.
When we have our conference?
When we have a conference,
Yeah.
usually we use it from that. I know it depends on the facility.
Yes.
An annual meeting if there's nothing central for a church.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's whenever you might need some really hot hardware or black at a time. Yeah. And as I say, it was specifically donated for the license members.
They're coming, Gail and Paul.
Claire McGinnis sent her regrets.
Claire McGinnis?
Sam, we're gonna-
Okay, yes.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming this morning. And we're really grateful for this wonderful location. It was a little bit difficult to find, but the reception has been very welcoming. It's amazing. So we're going to say, to start, the licensed lay minister prayer, which is on the back of the agenda. So just going to follow along as best you can. I know we don't have copies for everybody, but loving and eternal God,
who through your Son, Jesus Christ, calls your people and sends them forth to witness and serve in your name. Bless each member of the Licensed Lay Ministers Association of this diocese. Give us grace that we, walking in the footsteps of your Son, and being filled and strengthened by your Holy Spirit, may serve you and your church as faithful stewards in the ministry to which we are called, and by our example, enable others to know and love you. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
So we do have a few regrets this morning, and they do include a couple of key people for us. Our secretary is not here, so Maxine is kind of standing in, and we are recording this morning's session, so Cheryl will be able to do the minutes afterwards, so we will have those. As well, our treasurer had a family emergency and was unable to be here today. She did send all the books, so if anybody would like to review them, as per the usual AGM process, they are here if anybody wants to have a look at them. But we do have her finance reports, the end of year, and the budget for next year. Okay, so approval of the agenda. Does anybody have anything they would like to add to the agenda? And if there is something that you think of that you'd like to add at the end, you can still do that. That's fine. Would somebody like to move approval of the agenda? Ann Williams, okay.
I'll second it.
10 seconds. Now we're doing the minutes from last year's meeting. They were in the diaconia if you had a chance to read through them prior to today, and there are a few copies. I have one more copy up here if somebody wants it. But I think we have about a copy per pew, so if you want to take a minute to look at those, we'll give you a little bit of time. We have to vote on those. Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, okay. Sorry, all in favor of the agenda, say aye, okay? Contrary minded? Okay. Louise?
Just with regards to regrets, is that from the person who said the regrets or the person who actually wasn't here? But I was there last year.
Oh, okay. And you're listed on the regrets for last year? You are? Look at that. Okay.
I was here.
Were you sending regrets for somebody else? We'll correct that.
We were all Thank you.
I do remember you here, though. I mean, well, actually, in the other, in Stewiacke, yes.
Any other changes or adjustments to last year's minutes? Would somebody like to move acceptance of the minutes? Louise? Seconder? Steve, okay. All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Okay. Okay, business arising from the minutes from last year. The first thing is the fall conference for 2024, which, as you all are aware, was canceled due to lack of funding. And I think that we have rectified that matter, hopefully permanently. It seemed that a lot of churches had lost the habit of paying their dues, so our dues were down quite a bit last year. The diocese had changed their process a bit. We'd had many turnovers in treasurer over the past few years, and I think that all resulted in us getting less money. So we did have to cancel in PEI. Unfortunately, canceling in PEI didn't leave them with a very pleasing opinion of us, because we canceled late. So in order to not have to pay a ton of money up front, we've moved the conference, which is unfortunate because PEI was a lovely location. So we'll be in DeBert this year, and that is September 28th weekend, I believe. Yeah, the 26th to the 28th, and that's down in DeBert. So we didn't put any information on that in the Diaconia because we felt it would be too confusing to have the AGM and the annual conference information in there. So you will receive information about the annual conference before the end of the summer. Any questions on that? No? Okay. And yeah. What's that? I think it's $100. What's it say on there? We increased it last year. $100. Yeah. And that'll cover meals and accommodations.
DeBert is nice.
Yeah,
So
it seems to be a beautiful place.
it's a good facility. You're getting a good bargain for $100. And I would strongly encourage anybody who's not attended a conference before, check it out.
Yeah.
It tends to be a time when people get together to kind of just talk about what's happening in your own parish and what's happening in your own life and whatnot. And it's a really good social get-together as well as educational. So I would strongly encourage you, if you haven't been to a conference before, come along.
I do have a few early registration forms if people are interested in filling them out. There's not a lot of information on them because we don't have a lot of details yet. But more on that will follow sometime probably in July. Okay. The other thing we talked about last year was licensing of LLMs for reserved sacrament. And I believe at that time the new policy had just come out.
Yeah.
And it has been clarified since, but you do need an additional license for doing reserved sacrament. And the only time that you're able to do it is if you're visiting an individual. You can't do a service anywhere, not in a church or not in a nursing home. I think, is everybody pretty clear on that now, or is there still some confusion around that?
Do you have to
Not necessarily, but it probably is preferable, but if there's just one of you and you're, you know, that as long as you have the approval of your parish council and your rector, yeah, whatever seems to work.
Yeah. It is kind of recommended to be in pairs when you do those things, just for your own safety.
Yeah. So. And if you're in ministry with children, definitely too. But anybody over the age of 18, be practical, be wise, but it is allowable to be sent out individually.
Yeah, Safer Church does recommend that most things in the church be done, that you don't do them on your own.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Is there anything else from the last year's minutes that anybody would like to bring up? Jordan?
Yeah, I'm just curious, you said the early registration was available for the fall conference. Do you know when the payments would need to be due by? Where you can just register early and then maybe all the time working and can't attend, then the place would open up to another training survey.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to register yet, but if you want to take one of the forms, you can, and you can, yeah. I don't think you're that far from Joanne anyway, are you?
No.
No.
You can drop it off to her.
Yeah. I think you're safe.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the Warden and Board of Standards reports. So the Warden's report would have been in the Diaconia, but there were a few copies printed today.
Has everyone had a chance to read the warden's report? Does anybody? Does anybody have any questions for me? We had a good annual meeting, and we didn't have a fall conference, and so that's basically my report this year. And there's been quite actually a number of licenses have gone through, quite a number of applications have gone through this year, which is encouraging to see. So I'm not quite sure what the final number would be, but I know Barb and I have been back and forth with submitting applications fairly regularly this year, so that's a promising sign. And there is the Dartmouth region is offering a course this year, and has been offering a course this year that we've monitored as an association. And so I think, how many candidates were with that? Was it 7, 8?
The one that's in running now?
That's running
I think there's
now.
about 4.
There's 4,
Yeah.
sorry. There was probably 7 or 8 around the table, that's why. But and hopefully, if we can get the curriculum together, the hope is that within the near future, we'll have several other programs also happening. I know that the region of rivers and lakes is looking to do one, and Prince Edward Island is looking to do one in the not too distant future.
We can talk more about that, like
Yeah.
the new curriculum.
Exactly.
All right. Any questions for Tom, or? Okay, well, would someone, do you want to move acceptance of your report?
Sure. I'll move for the acceptance of my report.
Would someone like to second that? Rose? All in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Okay, the next thing is the president's report. It was pretty short and sweet, kind of along the same lines as Tom, actually. We had a great AGM last year, no conference. And we did do a lot of work with Board of Standards this year. I'm finished as president after today, and it's been my absolute honor to be the president for the last 2 years. You're a wonderful group to work with, and everybody on the executive has been amazing. Does anybody have any questions for me? All right, I move acceptance of my report. And Dennis seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Okay, moving on. I think we're into finance.
Diaconia?
Oh, the diaconia, sorry. So the diaconia, we have been unsuccessful in actually finding a diaconia editor. We did find that trying to do 2 a year it's a lot of work. So we've decided that we will do 1 diaconia a year, probably in the spring. And other communications, like information on the annual conference in the fall, will come out as a separate message. Maxine, our vice president, had taken on doing the diaconia in the interim. But if anybody is interested in doing our newsletter, they can see any of us, because we'd be happy to talk to them. But even if we don't have somebody, we will continue to put out the newsletter once a year. Anything else for diaconia? No. Is everybody receiving the diaconia? Yeah.
And the spring issue is important, because the spring issue has the reports for the AGM and the registration for the AGM. So that's kind of, and as our regional reps will know, that's when you submit the regional reports as well. So that's our main vehicle for communication, is the spring diaconia. In years past, we would always have an education issue in the fall. But once again, that tends to be a lot of work, and unless we have somebody that has the time to be dedicated for that, I think one issue a year would be more than sufficient at this point in time.
We are also, when we send the diaconia out, we do send it to the parishes as well. So for those who are not on email, hopefully you are able to get it through your parish office. We don't, what's that?
Dennis.
There on our diaconia, reference for medallions and medals, we've got the mailing for $2. I like to rate it because of the prices of
Postage, yeah.
To $3.
Okay.
$2 to $3.
Okay.
Do you want to make a motion to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion that we raise the mailing cost of the medallions from $2 to $3.
And that's the mailing cost?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
The cost of
That's
medallions
cost.
doesn't, so the cost of medallions is not changing.
No.
We'll make sure that's updated in the next diaconia. Would somebody like to second that?
I'll second it.
David, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay.
Jordan had his hand up for a while.
Oh, I think it's a good idea to just have one annual diaconia. And especially as the training curriculum is kind of being implemented, that would be the only time I think that another issue may be warranted. But again, I don't know. I look on the website and I get it on the email chain. Some people do need it printed. I don't know unless I request it from the admins at parishes. I don't know if they print them off regularly.
Yeah, you have to ask at your own parish and see if they're, yeah.
Yeah.
We did used to mail them out as well to a group of people, but many of them were coming back and we're having so much trouble keeping an up-to-date list of current licensed lay ministers that sending them to the parishes seemed like a better option.
And with the what it is.
Yes. And it does cut down on postage. David?
Just kind of an aside to this, but if you know of anybody who's not getting the diaconia, who has email, could you ask them to contact me? Because we don't know if we've got everybody's email address or not.
Yeah, we tried last year to get an up-to-date list of licensed lay ministers from the diocese because they collect that information every year as part of the parochial return. But when we got the information from them, which they were happy to share, it was very incomplete. So they did change their process a bit this year, so we're hoping that the database they collected this year will be more accurate and we'll have more information.
Madam Chair, what is the number in terms of circulation for the diaconia? Do you know how many percent out?
David, do you know?
David, how many do we have
on
on
our
our
top of
list?
my head, and I don't have access to the database here, but it's a few hundred.
Approximation.
Oh, 300
I see.
at least.
And is it, I missed the gentleman comment over here, but are there hard copies in it at all, or we just do it electronically?
It's electronic, but we do send them to the parish offices. So you could ask your parish office to print you a copy. Yeah.
Have you been receiving them, Robert?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Then
Are you-
you might want to check with David just to make sure that.
Make sure he has an accurate email address.
Yeah. Jordan?
You also just go to NSPEI-layministers.ca if you have an internet capable device or
It's
access. It's
on-
right there on the homepage as well.
I'll
Yes,
make
it is
sure-
on the
I'll
website.
make sure the diaconia is on the website as well.
Yeah.
But if you don't have internet access,
Then.
Yeah. But yeah, just make sure David has your email address. I think you probably gave it to us when you came in today. Yeah.
The list of, the email addresses should be on the list that we're sending for with our news. Because we have to list each lay minister, isn't the email address on that too?
Going in from the diocese.
I thought we had to send one directly to, I did send it directly to whoever's on the list.
Yeah.
So
For-
not just to the diocese, but to pay our dues. We don't pay the dues to the diocese.
Yeah.
Yes, but everybody doesn't do that.
Yeah.
A lot of parishes just send it to the diocese. Some are not sending it to the diocese and just Joanne, so that actually Joanne is working with the diocese to try and have a complete list, so.
The money goes to the association.
Yeah.
Yes.
The list is compiled from the parochial returns, which come directly from parish offices to the diocese. So that's the difference. There's the difference. So oftentimes people send a check to Joanne, but the form goes to the diocese.
But you know, we were hoping people would print a PDF and send it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I just assumed everybody was.
Yeah, no,
No,
that,
no.
that doesn't happen consistently. We're trying to find a way that everybody gets all the information, but.
And part of it is because parishes don't know, and part of it is
Yeah.
precisely because they've changed. At one time, it was fairly straightforward because the parochial return arrived in the mail, and you had a hard copy, and there was a page that you filled out, and you mailed the whole shebang into the diocese. And now it's electronic, so there's been some kind of inconsistencies with the rollout of the electronic version.
So we are working with the diocese every year to try and make sure we can have an up-to-date list. We did skip over correspondence. Do we have any? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Somebody have a question?
Do we have an updated financial report?
Yes.
We will,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll be doing that next.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good, thank you very much.
Yep.
So you skipped over correspondence? Yeah, we skipped over correspondence. Did you-
Yeah. I don't have any.
No? Okay. Okay, I think we're down to the treasurer's report. So you will see in front of you, if you have a copy there, it's double-sided. One side is the report to the end of the fiscal year, which shows a balance of $5,380.99. Now that's gone up since what was it currently? I'm just gonna try and pull up the last report that we got at an executive meeting, just to, sorry, with that, our treasurer was not able to come at the last minute, so it's been a bit,
That was about 8,000.
yeah, I think it was around 8,000, and that was after paying the down payment for the fall conference, so we have lots of money in the bank right now, so that's an improvement over last year, because we didn't finish the last year very rich. So were you wondering about something, Dennis, in particular?
Well, I was just wondering what was our final balance would be. I don't have it here.
So the final balance on December 31st was $5,380.
Yeah, I got that December 31st, 24.
Yeah, because it's a fiscal year, right? So,
Okay, so what's our balance up to date now?
well, let me see if I can find it for you.
It's about $8,000.
Yeah, it's around 8,000.
8,000, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And once again, we've already paid for the conference center.
We paid,
The
no,
down
we paid a
payment.
deposit, yeah, we paid a
Yeah.
deposit for the conference center. The AGM is paid for, and there would have been monies coming in from that, and there will be monies coming in from conference registration. On the other side, you'll see, actually, we should approve.
Yeah.
So, does anybody have any questions about the report for the fiscal year of 2024? And we did move our fiscal year, right? It used to run from March to March, but kind of to line up with everybody else, we've moved it from January 1st to December 31st. And the reason that our AGM is so much later is because we just can't, March is not a good time of year, February, March is not a good time of year for all of us to get together, so. But if you have any questions about the information that's there.
And once again, most of our money comes in between March and May, so, because that's when the parochial returns are due.
And we did receive some additional monies, probably the first part of this year, because when we were discovering that a lot of parishes hadn't paid, a message went out, and some parishes did in fact pay back dues for a couple of years, so that has helped us out. But most of our money comes in from membership dues, and any money that we get, that we collect at the AGM and the conference, but we also put money out for those as well, so.
Motion?
Yeah, would someone like to make a motion to, in the absence of the treasurer, to move the annual, or the year-end statement?
I so move.
Okay, Alphonse, okay, seconder? Paul? All in favor? Contrary minded? Okay, on the other side of that paper, you will see a budget for this year, which of course we're almost halfway through the year. So the proposed budget is the column on the right, which shows what we would expect to take in for memberships, what we expect to take in for the annual meeting, which I think we probably exceeded, money for medallions and ribbons, the annual fall conference, and then what we would normally expect to put out for the annual meeting. The conference, of course, is the biggest expense that we have. Our other expenses are all pretty minimal. Does anybody have any questions about that? Would someone like to move acceptance of the budget for 2025? Dennis, seconder?
Stephen?
Stephen, okay. All in favor? Contrary minded?
Question before that.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to ask, I'm a bit of a neophyte in terms of where the money comes from. I've never personally paid a membership fee.
No, your parish pays your membership on your behalf.
Okay.
When the parochial return is completed, there's a form that comes with it that lists all the licensed lay minister and indicates that a $25 fee is to be paid for each one, paid by your parish. You're not expected to pay that.
Yeah.
Okay? All right? All in favor? Contrary minded? Okay.
Did we skip over the review of the books for
Yeah,
2024?
we did.
Well, we do have a review of the books on there, and I'm not sure they got reviewed for 2024, because she wasn't able to find anybody to do it. We do need to find a reviewer for our books. And Joanne's not here to speak to that this morning. But the books are here if anybody would like to have a look at them. But that's one thing we do need to find is an auditor.
Yeah. Has anybody done that within your own parish? Has anybody here been a financial reviewer of the books for a parish?
No.
No? Okay. Because if you were, I was going to volunteer you to.
I think they knew that, Tom, that's why nobody knew that. But if you do know of anybody,
Does the person have to be a licensed minister?
no, actually, the more arm's length they are.
So
from the
better to
association,
ask
the
if someone,
Yes.
if their reviewers would be.
Yeah, they don't necessarily have to be a licensed lay
yeah,
minister.
it can be anybody that has the experience to, review numbers and Jordan.
I have two family members who might be able to.
Okay. So could you maybe connect with Joanne on that? Yeah, because that would be great to have somebody to do that, yeah.
And you'd be close by too, so it
Yeah.
wouldn't be as much of a problem to
Thank you.
run back and forth. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jordan, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we'll leave that for now. So that takes us to elections.
Yeah, yeah.
Ted,
You have to add one.
oh, do we not have all the reps there?
You need somebody for board of standards in my place.
Right.
Oh, you're stepping down, okay, Board of Standards?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you did tell us that.
Yeah.
We just don't have a good memory. I said, you did tell us that.
Okay, so President, Vice President, Board of Standards rep,
And some area reps, yeah.
and some area.
Okay, so my term as president finishes effective today. And the normal process is that the vice president steps into the president role because they've been here for a couple of years, so they're, confident in taking on the role. So, but I think we should have a motion to approve Maxine Simpkin as president. So if somebody would like to make a motion, Ted, okay,
And seconded by Wayne.
and seconded by Wayne.
He's Ted and Wayne.
Yeah. Wonderful adventure. All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Nothing to say?
Thank you very much for your
You're-
vote of
you're-
confidence.
You're willing to step up.
Oh, yes, I am. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. I really appreciate that, Maxine.
So as Maxine steps into the president role, we do need someone to take on the role of vice president. And I'm not sure if anybody here today would be interested. We're looking for motions from the floor. We do have one candidate who is willing to stand, but if there is anybody else that was interested, we would be very happy to consider them.
And-
Point of order. Do you not need to be present to be elected?
This general rule, it's helpful.
Yeah, well, the person's not here today.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Most of our meetings are online, so it's not, travel is not as much of an issue. We do meet occasionally as a board of standards in person,
and that includes the vice president role.
and that includes the vice president.
It's a 2-year term, and then there would be 2 years as president after you finish as vice president. There's generally a lot of support. The past president stays on for 2 years to assist the president in the role.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody that's interested, if the person's not here, we may have to leave it vacant for the moment.
Could that be something you folks would be interested in?
So we can leave the vice president open, but how is it dealt with?
So if we leave it open, then it's up to the executive to find somebody.
Yeah, it would be up to the executive to
Yeah.
find
Okay.
somebody, but, yeah.
And I don't know, does it say in our bylaws that they have?
I think it just says it is to be elected.
Can I call them and ask them? What's your name and ask?
They're in Newfoundland right now.
What is the call?
But who was
Cheryl.
Oh, Cheryl, yeah, it was our secretary, Cheryl Murphy,
Yeah.
that was something to possibly fill in.
She's
But
willing to take on the role.
she's willing to take on the role. The other thing is that if Cheryl becomes vice president, guess what? We need a
We need a
secretary. So that's, and secretary, actually, the secretary's office is more difficult to fill than probably the treasurer's. And not the treasurer, the vice president's role.
But if we need to wait for, if you're probably right, David, so.
I think it's just best practice anyhow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is best practice.
So we'll put that on for the first executive meeting.
Yeah, at the first executive meeting, we will find a vice president, and then we will be looking for probably a secretary after that. So if anybody is interested in, I will tell you that being on the executive has been incredibly eye-opening for me. It's a wonderful opportunity. Prior to being a regional rep, which is how I got into the executive, I really didn't have a good understanding of the Licensed Lay Ministers Association and what we did. So it really is something that people should take advantage of if they have a chance.
It's not a very onerous position, though, is it?
No, it's not.
No, it's
Zoom meetings are an hour or so once a month.
yeah, once a month, and we don't meet in the summers, we don't meet in December, you know, same as most parish councils. And then there's Board of Standards meeting about 4 times a year, roughly, 4 or 5 times a year, depending on
Yeah.
how much work we're doing. Most of the meetings are done by Zoom. We started that with COVID, and we've never gone back to meeting in person because we're a large diocese, so it was always a lot for people to travel. We do occasionally have Board of Standards longer meetings together if we're working on a particular project.
And I can assure you, I attend a lot of meetings. The Licensed Lay Ministers Association is probably one of the more relaxed meetings that I attend.
We're a great group.
It is a great group, and by and large, most, there's not a whole lot of, it's basically, it's fairly straightforward what we do, and people, you're a very cooperative group of people. So, as I say, I would, if you're going to take on any position within the church, this is probably a good one. Yeah. And I think most people that have been on the executive will agree with that. I mean, it is a fairly good group to meet with. And there's a friendship that develops as well over time, so.
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
Because it would determine whether or not I could possibly do anything, is what day do you meet?
Oh, okay.
Well, we have the date somewhere.
We have it's usually on Tuesdays in the morning, but we, you know, we can be flexible.
Is it an evening meeting or?
Usually morning, yeah, but we have met in the evening in the past if we have executive members who are working.
Yeah.
You know, many of us are retired, but there are sometimes members who are not.
But it's only about an hour long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if it's for a rent, sometimes they can't make the meetings, but they still send in the report.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we'll move away from the president,
Yeah.
vice president, and secretary role. And we do have a number of area representative roles that are currently vacant.
Mhm.
We've had members who, some passed away or are, you know, like just getting to the point where they're not able to do it anymore. So we have, let's start with the Valley. I think we have somebody that's interested in that. Jordan, you're interested? Yeah?
Yeah.
So Jordan Waterman, right? Yeah. So Jordan Waterman is interested in the role in the Valley. Is there anybody else from the Valley that's interested in?
Does somebody want to nominate?
Yeah, he should be nominated. Would somebody like to nominate him? What's that? Lynn
Yeah,
Underhill.
Lynn
Okay.
is nominated, yeah. You want to second that, Ted?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Sounds good. The only reason I picked out Ted is the retiring rep for the Valley. So.
Seeing no others, all in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Okay, we also have, let's leave Schlechter for now.
The South Shore.
South Shore.
And we do have somebody that's willing to step in there.
Okay.
So I'm Robert Riddick, parish of St. John's, Lunenburg.
Okay.
And I'm happy to serve in that capacity.
That is wonderful. Would somebody like to nominate Robert?
I would, thank you.
Louise,
Louise.
okay. And the seconder?
I would.
Anne?
Anne.
Okay.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? All
Thank you,
right.
Robert.
Okay, this is going really well. Okay, let's try a couple more.
Well, there is.
There's Shignecto, which I think
Shabakto.
was, what's that? Shignecto, because
Oh,
that's
Shignecto.
Anne, that's your region, right? Shignecto?
Oh, okay,
Yes.
sorry.
And she's stepping down.
I would like to step down if there was somebody to fill in.
She's reluctant to give it up until somebody takes it on. But I don't think there's anybody else here from Shignecto, is there?
I've been trying.
Okay, so moving on, PEI. I don't know that there's anybody here from PEI today. No.
Dawn Upham has been the rep at PEI for the last number of years, and she's
For health issues.
for health issues.
Yeah.
She's stepping aside.
And the other one is Shabakto, which is Halifax, Halifax area, which we don't have anybody here from. So we will continue to work on those, but we're very excited to have filled 2 today.
Yeah.
We also need somebody for Board of Standards to replace Ted. So if you were a Board of Standards member,
I thought we had, a few years back, we had elected somebody to take over if somebody from the Board of Standards had to step down, if I remember correctly.
we elected somebody.
Yeah, in Cape Breton.
It was a young fellow.
Yeah, it was a young gentleman.
How many years ago was that?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, because
Was it Matthew someone?
Was he on the executive at that time?
It's Matthew Miller, but he no.
Is he quite elderly now, Ted?
No, Dave, I think you
I
were
can't
president
remember.
at the time
Yeah.
in Cape Breton. And we decided that we should have somebody in the background in case one of us had to
Yeah.
step down. And the only reason I'm stepping down is because of health issues. I can't give it 100%.
There's, okay, so we'll have to-
So, the Board of Standards Committee, and I don't know who that is, and I don't know how we track them down at this point. That was before my time, so I'm not sure who it would be that.
No,
They're
I
waiting, they're
can't
still
remember,
waiting
yeah,
to-
yeah.
So the Board of Standards Committee meets 4 or 5 times a year. It's usually headed by the warden of the association. It's attended by the president, the vice president, the secretary,
Vice president.
past president.
One clergy, other than the warden,
Yeah.
appointed by the bishop,
And
and
then-
that's Dorothy Miller, by the way.
And then 3 members at large that may or may not be made up of regional reps. It can be a licensed layman initiative that's not on the executive committee, that's part of the Board of Standards.
It was Matthew, and he was from Halifax.
Oh, I remember, yes, yes.
Took me a little bit.
He took the was he the guy that did the website for a while?
Matthew Miller,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was vice president at one point.
he was the
and
vice president at one point.
That's when I stepped in as vice president,
Yeah.
when he didn't.
Yeah,
Because you stepped in as president when he should have
He's
moved into
from,
president.
he's from Church of the Apostles over.
yes, yes.
Well,
Yeah, I don't, is he even active in the association anymore?
He's not active in the association, but I think he's still active as a licensed lay minister at Apostles.
Well, we
Jordan.
can ask him.
I have a contact with the priest in charge of apostles right now.
And that's Marion Jeffries, yeah, Lucas Jeffries.
There's someone at your current parish where you're serving who might be, we want to reach out to them.
Okay, can you give us their contact
I can
information
give her
and we'll reach out
Yes.
and see, okay. And Ann, you're on Board of Standards as well.
Yeah.
And did you want to stay with that, or?
Well, yes, I'll stay for.
Okay.
Take over here.
Okay.
Okay, so-
And it's very similar to the executive. The Board of Standards is not, it's actually quite interesting because
Yeah.
what we mainly look at is both the documents that govern the association and training programs. So if you have an interest in training, the other thing is, I just want to mention this to perhaps Robert or Jordan, is that just because you're an area rep doesn't mean necessarily you can't sit on the Board of Standards. I don't
No,
think.
absolutely.
So if that's something that either one of you gentlemen,
I did both.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Over Valley directed both.
yeah.
If someone else offered, if they still want to nominate themselves or have me nominate them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll take it, but, yeah.
So you'd be willing to be on the Board of Standards?
If necessary, is there
Yeah.
someone else who would be
Well,
willing?
Robert, would that be something that you might be interested in?
I have a question
Oh,
because I
sorry.
don't have an agenda. There is supposed to be a motion coming to this about the web editor and that being a non-voting member of the board.
Right.
Yes, that's coming up, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, yeah.
So why don't we just, you were asking Robert earlier too.
Yeah. Are you interested in being on Board of Standards? Robert? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
But, is it me or Jordan, or both of us?
You can vote for
Because
it.
Actually, we could,
if he would like to be on, I would be very happy to support his nomination.
okay.
So,
Could there be like 2 people doing it, or is it just one position?
Actually, there's three positions elected from the floor here, and the 3 people are Ann, Ted, and who's the third?
Janet Tippert.
And Janet Tybert. And I don't think Janet necessarily wants to do it either, so.
No, she hasn't been at a meeting.
She hasn't,
She
yeah.
hasn't been able to attend the meeting.
I'll let my name stand.
What's that?
I'd let my name stand.
Is that your-
Yeah, well, you kind of get to do everything anyway, because you're our,
Well, I have to be at the, if it's on Zoom, I have to be there.
yeah.
So why not?
So you would like to be a voting member? You'd
Sure.
stand as a voting member of the Board of Standards? Okay.
I think that would be.
Okay, so far, and Ann, you want to stay on? Like, I don't want to take that away from you. Yep, okay. So we have our three, yes.
I have a question, and this is thanks to Ann asking the question as you got it down. What's the term of office for reps on the Board of Standards? Is it for life?
It's a lifetime commitment. Unless you move in, I used to be a regional rep and now I'm president, so. That doesn't mean if you become a regional rep that you're gonna end up as president, but,
It's basically renewed every time. Like, you can step down any time, but it is like a 1-year appointment for life, you know, it's like
Yeah.
president.
That's basically what I'm told.
Yeah.
Okay, so who are we listing as our three, so Jordan, David, and Ann will be the,
Three, the three, I won't say lay reps, Board of Standards reps.
so can we motion the three of them together?
Yes,
I
you
so
can.
move.
Yeah.
Well, Ann is gonna stay on.
Yeah.
Paul,
Jordan
is
is
that
gonna,
something you might be
Robert's
interested in?
supporting, Jordan's
No,
staying on,
but
and
I
David
understood
is the other.
Claire, again, this is here, she was interested in either secretary or the Board of Standards. She said she could be interested in the Board of Standards. But she'd want to be a
Claire
secretary. I know
McGinnis.
she's not here,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Yeah,
I thought I'd reach out just to ask.
Yeah.
Is Claire working? Because a lot of the things that are going on with Board of Standards
No, she's
are
not here.
yeah, I
She's
know.
not here today because she was doing, you already
Yes,
told something at
yeah.
church, but no, she doesn't.
But,
she's
yeah,
retired.
but I think it should be noted that most of the meetings are in the daytime because
Yeah.
most of our members are retired.
Are you
And
okay with that?
if you are
does
working,
that impact you, Jordan?
it could impact your attendance at the
Depends on
meetings.
what it is. I'm right now, I'm just a casual, so I
Okay.
can fit it in and then, but then again, you get called in to work for the last minute.
Okay,
So
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah.
take it as
Okay.
So maybe if he's the rep, the Board of Standards could be. So who's everything? So who are the?
okay, so for Board of Standards, we're looking at David, and we were Jordan and Ann as the three Board of Standards members at large.
However, we just were told that Claire.
Claire is
new.
interested.
Claire is also interested.
Yes, so is Claire, does she work or is she retired?
She's retired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be your alternate.
Actually, how would you feel about being an alternate, Jordan? Since
I
you
would prefer it all,
okay,
It
because
would
I
be-
am
yeah,
getting back
okay.
into work.
You want to ask Claire if she will allow her name to stand? Just official,
Yeah,
an official.
Okay, so I have to ask questions for you. Which morning and how often? So it's Tuesday mornings and once a month?
No, well, it depends. Our Board of Standards meetings, they're not once a month. They're about 4 or 5 times a year. And,
About 2 of those meetings are in person,
yeah,
and then the other ones.
and
are
when they're in
virtual.
person, they tend to be on Thursday mornings for some reason.
Yes, yes.
And,
Thursday morning?
yeah, and then,
Thursday morning's not good for me.
no, but that's again negotiable, right? So the day of the week we can work around, particularly for Board of
And
Standards.
if I know them ahead of time, I can block them
Yeah.
in my schedules.
yeah, but being an alternate is good.
Yeah, being an alternate is good. So, I mean, even if you were available, you could come to a meeting, and if you were sitting as an alternate, you just wouldn't be voting, but you could still be there for the
That's good.
discussion. Yeah.
Sounds good.
You're waiting to hear back from her?
Yeah.
Okay.
She'll be pretty quick, so she'll probably be able to.
Okay, so if we, do you want to move on to the webmaster or non-voting member of?
Yeah, I think we'll move on in our discussion. We'll come back to the piece around the Board of Standards.
Yeah,
So, there were some copies of this one pager. It just talks about revisions to the Licensed Lay Minister's Handbook of Standards and Regulations. The revisions are very minor. It's just that the diocese has moved to, so we're replacing rector with rector/incumbent, just to cover like a priest in charge or anybody else that's in charge of a parish. And under officers to add, we are adding the diaconia editor as a non-voting member and the association webmaster as a non-voting member. So they should be present at the meetings, but they aren't really part of the executive. So, the Diaconia editor, we don't currently have one, so it's filled by the executive, so that is kind of irrelevant. The associate webmaster, David has been doing that for a number of years, and he has always been on the executive as an executive member because he was, I think, past president and then past president.
Yeah.
So after today, he will no longer be any of those things, but he still needs to attend the meetings as our webmaster because he needs to know what's going on. He manages our website and does all our electronic communication. So we're just proposing that be added as a non-voting member to the board of, I just think just to the board of standards and to the executive.
They're already on the executive, is that?
What's that?
The webmaster is already on the.
Is already on the
Is
executive.
already
So
on
it's
the
just for the board of
executive.
standards. So is that clear? Have I confused everybody?
So we're looking to add the webmaster to the Board of Standards as a non-voting member because as past President David was attending already, but right now he won't be able to attend.
And this is,
That's
this,
elected as a regular member.
But now that he's elected as regular member, well,
so this is for the handbook, the
Yeah.
License Plate Minister's Handbook. So the changes are replacing rector with rector incumbent, and under the section J, Board of Standards, adding the Diaconia editor and the Association webmaster as non-voting members. Is anybody interested in making a motion to that?
Stephen will.
Stephen
yeah, thank you.
Hamlin, and a seconder.
The other
Steve
Stephen.
McCarty. All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded?
Thank you.
Okay, now, the other piece is the bylaws and constitution, so they also have to be changed to reflect what we've talked about. So the changes that we're proposing to the bylaws and constitution, for one thing, it will say that it's updated June 2025, so you will see that at the bottom of every page. And then on page 2 of the document, under section E for executive, the association webmaster is added as an ex officio member to the executive. I'm not sure if everybody has that. Under the executive, it lists all the members, and we're just adding the association webmaster as an ex officio member. And then after that, there's nothing until the very last page of the document, which talks about the association webmaster and just puts in place what their role is. And it is to maintain the annual domain registration and web hosting, using current web editing software, regularly update and maintain the NSPEI lay minister website, create and update list servers for communicating with various groups within the association as needed. So when you receive an email, you receive it from the LLM, all LLM group. We also have one for executive and one for Board of Standards. He also maintains the association's YouTube channel, and he is responsible for registering and administering a Workplace Pro Zoom account, which allows us to have our meetings. So that we're adding that as a role under the executive. And then under Board of Standards, which is the last item on that page, we're adding the Diaconia editor and the association webmaster as non-voting members. Does that make sense, Gail?
Yeah, Gail?
Question, pronouns that are there, are they going to be they or he, she?
What's that?
When you were going through that listing, what are the pronouns you used was he, are you going to replace those with they?
It's just to be.
Well, that was just me explaining. Just our current webmaster is David, so it doesn't even say that in the document.
Okay, so there's no pronouns, it's just listed?
No, no,
It's just the positions out.
no.
Yeah.
It just says maintain the annual domain. There's no pronoun with it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just doing that because David happens to be currently in the board. So is that clear to everybody what we're doing? We're adding the role of association webmaster as outlined in what I said. And again, we're adding the Diaconia editor and the association webmaster as non-voting members of the Board of Standards, and the webmaster as an ex officio member of the executive. Can we do that as one motion?
Yes, we could.
Would somebody like to motion that?
I'll move it.
Paul. The seconder? Ted. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Okay, wonderful.
I didn't ever second it.
Ted seconded it. Didn't you? Yeah.
Yes, you did, yeah. 10 minutes.
So would you. Have you heard back from Claire?
Yeah, she said okay.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, so now we are going to motion for the Board of Standards. So I need somebody to make a motion that our Board of Standards members at large be David Harrison, Ann Williams, and Claire McGinnis, with Jordan Waterhouse as an alternate. Waterman, sorry.
I like speed road.
Also, I'll move that.
Okay, Ted's moving that. Can I have a seconder? No seconder? Dennis. All right, all in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Okay.
You let Claire know, yeah. Well, thank you. And tell her thank you.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Let's do this one first. Okay, then under new business, the new licensed lay minister course curriculum. So the Dartmouth region started running a course in September, and the licensed lay minister mostly Board of Standards, but one of the executive members, Paul, was helping us as well, because the course was being held in Dartmouth, and we were trying to have auditors who kind of lived in the area, so they didn't have to travel too far to audit. So we've been trying to audit all the courses, and so the headings of the courses haven't changed a whole lot. It's pretty much the same as what was being run previously. We did add a session this time, though, on we had members of the Licensed Laymen's Association. So myself and Maxine and Tom and I think Paul were the ones that went to just talk about the association, because I don't know about any of the rest of you, but when I did my course, there was no discussion about the association and what's available to you, and so we wanted to do that. It was well received. We have taken the information we got from auditing and are developing a curriculum. We're hoping to have the first part of that ready for
pretty soon.
September when Dartmouth starts again, and for any other courses that are starting up. We just want to ensure that what's being offered is useful. We're trying to make it a little more practical, because some of the information that was being offered was very, there was a lot of history in it, so it wasn't always relevant for what new licensed lay ministers need to know. So, Tom, did you want to add to that?
we're looking at there'll be a second program beginning this fall, and at that point in time we'll propose some modifications to what took place from September to April, just with our own feedback. And eventually what we want to do is, as an association, is to kind of have an outline for any region that is looking to offer a program, so that we have a standardization right across the board. With the understanding that each region will kind of have its own flavor for a program.
So what we have started to develop, and Maxine has done a lot of work on it because she's a teaching background.
Yeah.
So the first 4 sessions, we've kind of outlined what the expectations would be for those sessions. So not necessarily saying we want you to teach this, 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 and this, but saying when you're teaching, you need to cover these components, and then, you know, if there's other information you want to have in there, that's fine, but as long as the core curriculum is met. So I think the session on, just for an example, the session that was done on the Book of Common Prayer and Morning Prayer, it provided all the history of the BCP, but didn't go into enough detail, we don't feel, on the practicality of actually doing a BCP course at a morning prayer service out of the BCP book.
Which is the focus of that particular training.
Right.
You know, you want to be able to do a BCP morning prayer service as a licensed lay minister.
And the videos that are on the website are pretty much out of date.
Yeah.
And we haven't been able, we had originally hoped to videotape the sessions and use them in that way, but that wasn't really able to be done. So all we did was we took notes, we got handouts, and we moved forward from there. So there probably won't be, maybe sometime in the future we'll be able to have videos, but right now we're just looking at laying out a core curriculum so that people know what needs to be taught when they teach a course. Does that make sense? And I don't think we need to motion that, because that's really just,
It's ongoing.
it's ongoing, yeah.
Yeah.
But if anybody thinks of something that they think should be covered, look back on your own training and now the experience that you've had. And if you feel there was a gap and you think that gap should be filled with information, if you would let the executive know, it would be very helpful. We may have already come up with that, idea, but if not, will you please let us know? Because this new curriculum would also be useful for licensed lay ministers who have already received their license, right? But may feel that they want to take in some of the sessions, especially if it's happening in their own parish. And having licensed lay ministers with your trainees is a good way of exchanging practical information. Because what you guys are doing, what we're all doing, is a really important job in our diocese right now. And we are holding together some parishes as they go through changes.
Yes.
So please, if there was something that you thought, darn it, if I just knew that would have helped me. So let's have an exchange.
And this afternoon, you might have an opportunity to flesh this out a little bit more as well.
Yeah.
Jordan?
Yeah, I just said, very thankful that you're looking at doing a BCP morning prayer service, because I've gone from a parish that was primarily BAS,
Yes.
one that's primarily, I'm going to one that's primarily BCP.
BCP,
Yes.
exactly.
And that is kind of good that they have a group of lay ministers, one of them who was willing to take me on, mentioned me that one of the churches doing said service.
Yes.
Yes.
And well, maybe that's something that we could give in our region, that would be something we do, so I'll have to look into that.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be kind of scary to stand up there and do a service out of a book that you're not familiar with.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's, yeah.
Particularly in English that's from the 16th century as opposed to the 21st century.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, the other item on our agenda is the retirement of our Archdeacon, Tom Henderson.
Yes.
So for 19 years, he has been the warden for the Licensed Lay Ministers Association, and he's done an amazing job. We're so lucky to have him. And we have a little something for him.
Just a little something. I'm going to take a picture.
Now I'm going to cry.
If you haven't noticed it, it's our new banner that we're now using. So I'd like to get a picture of these two wonderful people.
You're welcome. It's just a little something for you as you retire and you move forward in your relaxed mode now, something that might be useful to you.
And I'm not retiring from parish ministry just yet. One of the things
It's coming, but
it is. One of the funny things happened at Synod was that a number of people that came up to me and said, "You're retiring in the next few weeks," and I said, "No."
So I need both of you to smile at the camera. Oh, I'm getting so many pictures. So that's a nice one. Now move apart so I can get the banner. It's a little get the banner in there now. Thank you so much.
We have been so blessed to have Tom with us.
Yes.
You should see the card.
The card is handmade. and
It's obviously handmade.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, maybe we'll leave it up here and people can come and look at it.
Yeah, just put it up here and you can have a look at it. Yeah.
I need my glasses to read this. One of the drawbacks of getting older. Serve wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord, not people. Thank you. Congratulations on your retirement. Thank you, Reverend Tom, for your many years of devoted service. And the Licensed Lay Ministers Association from your friends, the LMM Association. Or the LMM
Association.
Yeah. Whoa. Now, what's this?
A little something.
We know that you plan to end up in Cape Breton,
Okay.
so,
Oh my goodness.
so what we got him was gift cards to take to Marble Gardens so that he can get whatever he would like to plant in his new garden.
And I am a gardener. Like this is wonderful. Thank you. I don't, like most people don't know that, and I don't know how you knew that, but that's
Somebody knew it.
somebody
I don't know who it
did.
was, yeah.
I think it was Cheryl.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it was Cheryl.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's
so
wonderful.
yeah.
Thank you
take
very
that.
much.
Yeah, and you can pick whatever you want and plant it, because we thought about getting you a planter, but it just didn't seem like a thing to do.
Not the
when
right
you haven't
time.
moved home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And one of the things, and I'm looking at getting box garden, or different things, so yes, a gift certificate from Apple Gardens is wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
So we expect to end up in Cape Breton.
I do expect to end up in Cape Breton, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. Yep, okay, thank you.
Is there any other new business? Does anybody have anything?
The only thing I wanted to add, and it was just from the Board of Standards, we did get a proposal from one of the local parishes, St. Albans and Woodside, for some, to look at our bylaws and constitution, and it's basically to look at different things that maybe in terms of vetting candidates for licensed lay ministers. We didn't really have time to flesh it out at the last Board of Standards meeting. We received the proposal 2 weeks ago. And so what we'll do is, as a Board of Standards, we'll go back and revisit the question. Part of the things that they raised was that they would like to see some of our documents brought up to at least the Safer Church standards or whatever. And so we'll be having a serious look at that. But as I said, we really didn't want to bring it to today until the Board of Standards had more time to look at the proposed changes. Okay.
And the bishop hasn't yet appointed Tom's replacement.
No.
So.
And if anybody, until I get word, if anybody sends in applications, I'm going to sign off on the applications until I hear an official, and I'll just send them to Maxine as opposed to Barb. So, so if your application is coming this way, don't sweat. I'll sign off on the applications until such time as a successor is appointed.
Does anybody else have any business? Robert?
I'm just looking a year hence, but I don't know when you choose the location for the next AGM.
Mm-hmm.
But I come on behalf of the second oldest parish in Canada to extend an invitation to St. John's, Lunenburg, to host this group
Oh my
next year.
gosh.
Robert, yes, that is wonderful.
A little further away for PPI members.
It is, yeah.
But we're very happy to host you in the prettiest town in Canada.
Wonderful.
Okay,
Thank you
all right,
so much.
thank you very much.
2026.
2026, yeah.
That would be great.
Okay, as soon as we have a date, we'll be in touch to, we'll
It's
usually pick the date.
it's usually the second Saturday in June.
Yeah,
So
why don't we just have a look right now and we'll pick the date.
Oh, this is wonderful.
Second Saturday.
It's probably June 13th next year.
That's the way it usually goes.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
just see.
Just as we're finishing, maybe I can get you to come up and make sure Maxine has your email address so she can
Oh, I think we
connect
got
with
it.
you.
Yeah, I think it's on that list.
It's here, but I just want to, it's
Oh, it's
sort of.
It's Ripley, RO at gnspes@.ca.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
correct.
Okay. Wonderful.
Got it.
Any other new business? Ann?
You don't have to Lunenburg, I suggest we start a little later in the morning. So
Yeah.
people have to drive there.
Yeah, okay.
Would you be okay with that, Robert? If they start at the annual meeting a little bit later?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, okay. good.
So
Yeah, we can actually,
registration at 10?
maybe
perhaps?
registration at 10,
10,
Eucharist at 11, then
yeah.
lunch, and
And then
then
lunch,
the
yeah.
AGM and the,
Yeah.
or whatever. We'll figure
Yeah.
that out for next year, but yeah, okay.
We'll work it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how about fish chowder for lunch?
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
I'll be there.
You just said the magic words.
Yeah. Be very appropriate for Lunenburg, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Anything else?
For the lay minister training, where is that announced? Because I don't remember seeing anything on that.
It's usually by region. You're in Dartmouth region, aren't you?
No, I'm in covers, or.
She's in South Shore.
Rail
Social
Shore.
training.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think they've had a training program in South
Yeah.
Shore for a while. It's usually through clericus that you would get that announcement, so it would be
But-
the local clergy. that would
Usually
come
the
up.
archdeacon is involved in your area, and then
Yeah.
they start to set up the program.
No one's reached out, but I'd love to go have a refresher.
Yes,
Yes.
and,
Maybe any
yeah.
years we do.
Archdeacon Brianna is considering putting one off as a region,
Okay.
so you'll probably hear something later this summer.
She's our-
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how it usually comes through.
And in fact, the only reason why the Archdeacon Brianna hasn't offered the program so far, so she's waiting for us to kind of have a program in place, or at least some framework for a program in place.
All right, anything else?
Just-
No other concerns, questions? Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn? Dennis? Dennis, are you hungry, Dennis? Okay, and we don't need to second that, that's
Yeah,
fine.
and we'll come back after lunch for our afternoon
12:15.
session.
Oh, that was long. So 12:15, and what time are we, I think we'll do an hour for lunch, so we'll come back and say 1:15, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good.
And we close with the grace.
And you want to say the grace for the meal here? as
Yes,
well?
we'll save the grace from the meal. Does somebody want to, or we'll do the Johnny Appleseed grace.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, that sounds good. But we'll finish with the meeting with the grace.
okay.
The grace.
Grace of our Lord Jesus Christ,
And the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all evermore. Amen.
Oh, the Lord is good to me, and so I thank the Lord for giving me the things I need, the sun and the rain and the apple seed. The Lord is good to me. John Appleseed. Amen.
That's a camp.
All right,
That's
so,
a camera, yep.
okay, so lunch, and then
Come
we
back.
schedule the afternoon, we're gonna talk about the curriculum kind of. But you don't have to have a copy of what we had sent out to us.
No, I think what we need is a brochure list, a list of what the topics are.
Right.
And ask for, we're not going to go through the whole course.
Can you pull up that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Oh, I will do. Would you like it by the? Yes.
First session this afternoon is gonna be about that, so we'll have an opportunity, because you're doing the course there. Yes, and I know.
Send them to us,
divided,
because those
there's
are
some stuff that
beautiful.
needs to change.
Can you send it to somebody on the exam? Okay,
That'd be great, thank you.
The more copies we have,
Yeah.
I'm not convinced mine are that good. Reverend Tom, can you have a
We will talk about this.
Thank you very much.